Alright, all you insomniatic TV channel surfers out there tonight, welcome back to the Tuesday Night Special. And on a complete side note, folks, we almost forgot to mention we are currently trying to solve the current problem on YouTube with all of the first 5 to 10 seconds of all of the footage we put up sounding like it's in slow motion. Yeah, we've got a notice from the maestro telling us that it was going on, and I was like, wait a second, why in the world does it sound like we're in slow motion? And yeah, it turned out that the editing software was, I guess, causing the first 5 to 10 seconds to go in super slow-mo, and we're currently trying to rectify the situation as we speak. Well, not as we speak right now, but behind the scenes. You'll know when you see it. And speaking of seeing things, folks, it is now time for us to go back into that cartoon rabbit hole, or what a cartoon rabbit hole, with the next show we have up on the plate, which is none other than Grim and Evil. A show, mind you, with two different shows combined as one, with two different separate stories. So for the first time ever, folks, we have two separate bowls of meat and potatoes we have to break down. So on my left, for the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, you have Grim the Reaper, who decided to challenge two kids to a game of limbo in limbo for the soul of a sick hamster, only to lose that game and be slave permanently to Billy and Mandy for the rest of his life, which is eternal, so I got a feeling they're gonna die first before he does. And on the other side of the spectrum, folks, you have Hector Concarne, a man who is one of the most dangerous but yet most valuable playboys in the world, being on the most wanted list at number 23, who unfortunately would suffer a major accident and would have to have his assistant, Major Dr. Ghastly, put his head and stomach in a jar for him to try to survive off his new body of the bear Boskov, only for him to try to really put his body on a giant robot and for that to fail. But yeah, would still try to conquer the world and get his revenge on the man who decided to do this to him in the first place, which turned out to be a fish. I'm not kidding, folks, it was a fish who did all this. And with that meat and potatoes from both sides of the spectrum broke down, folks, what did I love about this show? Well, with the fact that not only I was one of the people to actually vote for this show for the Cartoon Fridays Big Pick Weekend, which involved not only whatever happened to Robot Jones, Long Hair, and Double Dome, and even a part of another show that was, I do believe, Bag Boy during that time. I don't think that was a part of the pick rotation, but either way, 57% of the vote went out to Grim and Evil, and that show would then be born after that incident, or after that moment. And not to mention the fact that they let the fans vote for this said show to be. And funny enough, whatever happened to Robot Jones would still get a chance to be on the air, but Long Hair and Double Dome would unfortunately never see the light of day. And I do believe that would be a spin-off of what happened with Camp Lazlo, but I digress. This is about Grim and Evil, and the reason why I like this show so much, besides the silliness between Billy and Mandy, but also because of the Starscream tactics of one General Scar at every given moment during this said show. And not to mention the fact, folks, that Phil Lamar was featured during this said show. I kid you not. And another thing that I liked about this show, and possibly one of my favorite episodes featured for Grim, or at least for Evil Concarne, has to be the episode when Scar got hit with the de-evolving ray and decided to turn into this giant oversized gorilla and beat the living daylights flag tag out of Major Dr. Ghastly, which is hilarious. I don't know why it was hilarious to me, but it really was. And on the other side of the fence, one of my favorite episodes for the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy would have to be the episode that introduced probably one of my favorite bounty hunters of all time in the form of one Haas Delgado. The guy who was supposed to be a combination of not only Blade, but for some strange reason, a combination of Ash from The Evil Dead. Yeah, and not to mention, he had an arm that could transfer from a metal fist into a crossbow arm that shot chainsaws, which I really thought was cool. And unfortunately was not available as a power when he was included in the game of Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion. And I really wish it was, but unfortunately they never included it as a power. But besides that, folks, this show originally was born on August 24th of 2001 and would last all the way up until Halloween of 2003. And then would follow up with the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy that would last for another 5 years after that, and Evil Con Carne only lasting a mere year after its inception. And it would lead to a multitude of video games, including Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion, and I do believe that jacked up Halloween game that was featured on Cartoon Network's website for the longest amount of time. And seeing the fact that we don't know how to review TV shows along the lines of TV Guide or any of those other famous TV show reviewers that you know of out there, we say this. If you want to watch a show featuring a guy who has his brain and stomach in the body of a bear trying to rule the world, while on the other side of the spectrum, a Grim Reaper who is tricked by two little kids over the soul of a hamster, causing adventures around the world and creating chaos wherever they go on both sides of the fence, and sometimes crossing over into their own neighborhoods to cause some chaos there too, then I recommend you go out there, pick up your TV channel remotes, and watch that show. Or shows. Yeah, it's a safe bet to say that they were shows. Still wondering how they were able to pull it off, but yeah, definitely shows. Combined as one. And with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more of the Tuesday Night Special right after this. So don't go watching those infomercials just yet, folks, and stay tuned.